You are listening to Unequaled with JC Carroll and Ajay Salveson. But first, our friends, the Painted Roses.
Big thanks to the Painted Roses, Cole Stalker and his group introducing us in. JC Carroll, Ajay Salveson, episode 3 of the Unequaled podcast. This has been so much fun. We had Anna Weaver just a week ago. You can find that on all the podcast platforms, on our YouTube channel as well. Watch the video. Awesome stuff that was. And we're excited to have another great guest. You know, I've been told that no one knows the house better than the dog. The dog sees and hears everything. And no one knows Utah State athletics in its entirety, basketball, football, better than the trainers. And we are delighted. I can't wait for the stories between you two. Mike Williams, the head athletic trainer of Utah State Athletics, joined us here on Unequaled. Mike, it's so good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Well, it's good to be here. I appreciate you guys inviting me. It's good to see people like Anna as well doing this kind of stuff. She's a good kid, comes into my office all the time. But this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
JC, when you see Mike, like, do memories kind of start to flood back in your head? Stories? I mean, I want the whole dirt sheet today, by the way.
No, yeah, absolutely. Honestly, you said it right. When it comes to us playing and practicing, Mike Williams for us at Utah State was always a guy that, I mean, he was there early with us, taping ankles or helping us get our bodies right. And we talk about games, we talk about past players, we talk about coaches, and then he's one that's thereafter. Throughout my whole career, some of my best friendships were with the Mike Williams of all my teams. And so when it came to, hey, let's find someone that has some cool stories, interesting perspectives, for me it was very easy to see if we could get Mike to come spend 45 minutes with us and get his insights on Utah State, sports in general, mindsets. So really, really grateful and excited to be able to talk to him a little bit.
Wouldn't be remiss if we didn't mention we're being the beautiful MV spot here. Gorgeous building. This is incredible treatment. You get the whole repertoire of how to be taken care of. And you got couples, you got Valentine's week coming up. You got a chance to treat your special one with a little bit of spoil here.
Yeah, they're offering couples massages with chocolate strawberries, and I think they went out and got some kind of a special facial, chocolate facial mask as well for facials. Anyway,
I already had the chocolate facial. I'll get bad, but
yeah. So yeah, cool stuff. A lot of good things happen. There's a Galentine's event they're gonna host here, and ideas that people come here and leave feeling better about themselves.
Want to thank all our sponsors: Gill Mortgage, Bridgeland Adventure Park, Bowden Co. Real Estate, and Stokes Law Firm for joining us in today's podcast and all their support. Mike, you've been a part of Utah State since 1999 in the athletics. Here you are in 2023. I don't know if I dare call it the old timers. I'll say veterans of the Utah State Athletics Department. When you see JC, I'm going to ask you the same question, vice versa. When you see JC, some of the stories that you've had, like, you've seen everything. What parts do you say, all right, that story I'm just never going to tell anybody, and that story, yeah, that's going to be a memory keeper?
It's hard, and it's like we talked about a little earlier. When the guys get all together and we start throwing things out, more and more memories come back, and they just kind of flood you when the whole group is throwing ideas out. But when I see, like, JC, the one thing is, I don't even remember where we were, but he rolled his ankle, and it was in a gym where the court was actually in like a bigger, like a Kibbe Dome type gym, and he sprained his ankle and runs off the court. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it was at Long Beach State. They got the pyramid and they got the big bleachers that.
Yeah, I don't know where it was. And I go out to get him, and he's running around walking it off, and I come back and looks like, how's he doing? I'm like, I don't know, coach, I couldn't catch him. Came back in and I played the rest of the game, and that kind of toughness is the stuff that comes back when I start thinking of Utah State basketball, because that's what it was. And I like to see now, shout out to Coach Sprinkle, that's what it's getting back to. Not that it ever really went away from that being toughness, but there's just so many similarities to what they're doing now compared to what we did then as well. The personalities, the playing through things, the hard work, the intensity, all of that. It's really good to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we were talking before we got on about kind of your first year, which was Coach Morrell's second year.
Yeah.
And we're talking about some of the guys on that team. Tony Brown, Sean Daniels.
Yeah.
Was Curtis Bob on that team?
Curtis Bob was on that team. Sean Daniels, Tony Brown. I think Spencer was on that team.
Spencer, yeah.
Was he a freshman then? He had to be young.
I'm not. This is where I get all this stuff mixed up.
Okay.
Like sometimes guys come back and I'm like, you guys played together, and they're like, no, we didn't. Well, okay. So, but that team, there were a lot of things from that team as well that, I mean, I remember Deion Bailey got kicked out of practice when they were in hyper, and Coach Moore kept getting on him because his shoes would come untied. But he said, you got to get those flat shoelaces, they tie better. And I'm walking into the gym, and Deion's walking out, and he's like, I got kicked out. And I'm like, oh, you going to be all right? And he's like, Mike, it's a day off. So that kind of attitude that you can get on them, and they're just going to have that positive mindset. That's the big thing with the type of kid that Stu Morrill had in those 14 years, I think, is when I was with him.
Yeah.
Fall of 99 to 2012-13 was my last year.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Karen Nielsen with Guild Mortgage in Logan, Utah. Beyond great rates, we're committed to ongoing customer service even after your loan closes. We want you to experience knowledge, communication, and amazing customer service for a lasting relationship. Make Guild Mortgage your trusted partner.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a mystique of Stu Morrill, at least from my perspective. You played for him, you worked with him, but from my end, like, it's Stu Morrill, and you're just in awe. Your jaw drops, your frozen face. Because, I mean, Stu Morrill, one of the greatest ever, not only in Utah State athletics history, but maybe in college basketball too. And people don't give him, outside of Utah State, enough appreciation. He's going to have the court named after him February 10th against Boise State. What a great honor. When you think of Stu Morrill, from both of you, I'll start with you, JC. When you think of Stu Morrill, tell me about what he meant to you and what he meant to the specter in Utah State basketball.
Yeah, for me, he meant everything. He gave me an opportunity. I mean, I had no scholarship offers. I had nowhere to go play college basketball, and he saw something. He saw enough to offer me and get me here. Then once I was here, he could have easily tried to change the way I played, tried to enforce maybe a style of basketball that didn't suit me, But as time progressed, he gave me more and more opportunity to do what I do well. Come off, shoot the basketball off of a bunch of screens. Gave me the opportunity to get better in that sense. And the thing about Coach Wall that I love is he was great at taking somebody, and whatever she did well, he would design 5 or 6 different plays for him to get that ball in the exact same spot where he's good at shooting. I was great at coming out straight and shooting at the wing. I could start anywhere on the court, and I could end up on my wing with an open shot. So for me, Coach Worrell meant everything. Gave me an opportunity that ultimately let me go on and play many years in basketball.
What was it like to work with Stu Morrill, just from a training perspective? How did he incorporate you? Would he listen to you on injuries, or was it like, look,
Stu didn't believe in injuries, and so it was a challenge sometimes when we had to go in and talk to him. But we also had tough kids that would play through injuries quite a bit. So my perspective I understand exactly what JC said, because every practice was set up like you could probably go back right now and write up a Stu Morrill practice.
Yeah.
Because it was repetition, and that's when you got in the game, you shot that shot 100 times. So from an injury standpoint, he would listen. He's kind of gruff up front, like, because he didn't like that change. You know, if somebody comes in, they'd meet every day at 10 o'clock as coaches. So kids had to tell me by 10 o'clock so I could go up and let them know. And that initial change, he always did his practice plans in pencils, and I'd go there and he'd start erasing things. So, but fortunately, we didn't have a lot of injuries that really needed a lot of adjustment, because we had a lot of kids that were trying to play through some things. Nobody wanted to sit out, and that's the winning culture that kind of does that. So, but with Stu, you know, not only would he get on players, he'd hold everybody accountable. You know, whether it was a coach, whether it was me, whether it was a straight coach, like the student manager, any of that stuff, he would hold them accountable to that kind of higher standard.
I remember you telling me, well, you were going to, every time we go to dinner for football, for the road games, it's me, Mike Williams, Doug Hoffman, Scott Gerard, Kevin White. And all I want to do is have everybody shut up and let Mike tell stories.
Yeah.
Every time he gets interrupted by some stupid thing, it would make me so mad. There was a story you were telling us, and you were rudely interrupted. I think it was by me, actually. but it was about Gary Wilkinson and a broken finger or something like that. Do you remember this story? Because you never finished it, and I've been begging to ask you for 3 years.
Gary broke his thumb, and up in my claim to fame is up in the Spectrum on the hallway in the back by the locker room. There's a picture of him dumping, and that's my thumb tape job on his thumb. But Gary would be better at telling this story.
Yeah.
He was coming down. Somebody, I don't remember who it was, but they hacked him and hit him right on the thumb.
I think it was Pooh Williams.
Poohed it, and he just starts. He gets pissed. He's fired up, and coach gets mad at him. Are you in the correct? You got a little broken thumb. Gary'd be the better one to tell that story, but it was that kind of expectation that he's got a broken thumb on his shooting hand, and he's out there still going, still dunking, and there's a lot of intensity. I mean, we had guys that were, I remember Matt Forlisano and Ty Wesley sometimes best friends, and they would go at it. But as soon as they'd walk off the court, it's in the past, whatever. So that's the one I remember about Gary and his broken thumb is, oh, you gonna cry about a broken thumb?
Yeah. Okay. And Gary Wilkinson, it'd be like, he goes, I had a broken thumb and I played through it. I never complained, but he hits me on the thumb. And then all I hear is Coach World going, oh, my thumb. All I hear about is Gary's thumbs. But Gary was tough enough. He played through it. That was a fun team. I didn't play on that team. I finished the year before.
Yeah.
But, what a fun group that ended up being with Gary Wilkinson, Brady Jardine, Jared Quinn, I think Ty Wesley, Matt Formisano. That was, and they did great. Tyler Newbolds, yeah.
Is Brian Green on that roster too? Or was he a year?
Brian Green was on that team as well.
He could have been. Yeah, but a lot of that is, you speak of the Tyler Newbolds and kind of the unsung heroes that get kind of lost, but Tyler was a legit good basketball player, and his whole thing was whoever the other team's best player is, that's who I'm going to guard. And you just have that mentality. A lot of kids nowadays don't really have that. So,
yeah, he did. And Newbie, we got such a great teammate. He was a freshman my senior year, so I played for 1 year. Yeah. And talk about toughness. Like the kid walks in, we're playing summer basketball, and I feel kind of bad about it. It was unintentional, but I went up for a layup on a fast break, and he stuck he tried to get in front of me, and my elbow went through his teeth. I knocked his 2 front teeth out. We never found him. We never found the teeth. We're looking in the vents underneath the Spectrum. We're down underneath the court trying to find. We never found his teeth. So Tyler, because of me, he's missing his 2 front teeth.
All I want for Christmas, huh?
Call. And so stuff like that. I remember, sitting and we talk about. I like some of those older teams. Talking about like Desmond Penninger. Yeah. What made Desmond unique?
Yeah. Well, Desmond's a judge, magistrate judge now, back down south somewhere.
Fooling Desmond Penninger is?
Yeah.
Hey, Coach Morrow recruited some very high quality individuals that have gone on to life success after basketball.
Yeah. Well, and one of the stories Desmond told was he would pull up to a stoplight and think, I'm gonna go through this, it's yellow, and then he'd be like, what would Coach Morrow say? It would actually stun. But Desmond, when he got there, he struggled because we had the 2-mile test. Yeah, it was preseason conditioning, and back then, I don't think he was in the time when you could come back for summer. Like most of our guys had to.
Yeah, that kind of started to change when I came. Yeah, well, it was like my second year. It was like, hey, we're all here in the summer. We're gonna luck out.
So Desmond, we get to the 2-mile. He got a headband on, and coached in. You like your head sleeves and the one leg sleeves today? Not happening with
facial hair, nothing like this.
Yeah, so Desmond takes the headband off and he goes over. Coach gets on him. You got to take that headband off. We don't do that stuff here. And he goes over and he throws it on the ground pretty aggressively. And Coach gets right in his face. Who do you think you are? You haven't played here. You scored 1 point here. Junior college All-American, whatever he was. Just goes off on it. Get out of here. Kicked him out. So they butted heads quite a bit up front because Desmond was just that stubborn. But then once Desmond kind of figured it out, and Coach had to figure it out a little bit with Desmond as well, because, Desmond had a great, 10, 15-foot jump shot, little fade away on the baseline. Yep. and coach kind of figured out Desmond's pretty good. I gotta figure him out a little bit as well. But that first initial meeting at that 2-mile race, I don't remember if it was a 2, because you did a 2-mile and a 1 mile.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact order of those, but when he took that off, everybody was just like, if he's getting on Desmond, we all better get in line. So Desmond, he came out later around the mile or the 2 mile, and they were okay. That first year they did struggle a little bit, just kind of button heads.
Hey, you looking for something fun to do this summer? How about you go to Bridgeland Adventure Park, located in Garden City, Utah. Bridgeland Adventure Park has all sorts of adventures from ages 2 to 92. A 4-levels ropes course with 73 events, a giant swing, a 450-foot long zip line, or get on a tube and head down the 350-foot slide. They're also accepting business corporate groups. You and your office want to get out of the daily grind? Sick of staring at your computer for 8 hours a day? Well, bring the company over to Bridgeland Adventure Park. Enjoy some delicious food, a snow cone, a fun time with your coworkers, and lasting memories. Bridgeland Adventure Park is located at 722 South First Light Drive in Garden City, Utah. For more information and questions, go to blap.rocks. That's BLAP.rocks.
Yeah, Desmond. I don't think there's a shot he didn't like.
No. Oh, no.
That's something I think we had in common.
Yeah.
I was going to say, let's let Caleb speak to the pot here.
Yeah.
There it come, but had a great 2-year career here, being a junior college transfer. The other guy that kind of interests me, look, people don't understand how much I kind of look up to Tony Brown around here. I hang out in Mountain Crest now. He's at the gym last night, and his daughter's playing, and I look up so much to Tony Brown, and I try to tell him that, but I don't know if he cares or if he. But Tony, what was your experience like with Tony?
Tony was probably one of the smartest basketball IQ guys to get out there. Maybe the smartest. And when he came back, after he was done, he came back as a grad student for a year. And you guys had that zone defense where there's a spot right on the wing where you got to switch that it's tough. Tony knew that. He would just sit there and go back and forth and screw with people. But he was like legit. I mean, his impersonations, him and Chad Evans' impersonations of Stu were kind of the highlight. But he was like, I've always thought he could have gone and played overseas. He was just legit good, but he's just really humble about it. You know, he's just, I'm going to go out and shoot 3.
And he still is. Like, I remember I approached him one time and I was like, hey, can I do an interview with you? And I remember his exact answer was, about what?
Yeah.
And I was like, Tony Brown, like, and I'm with you. I used to watch him play at Mountain Crest in 1998, 99. Team went to the state championship. I mean, nearly won the dang thing. And then the NCAA tournament, as Stu Morrow calls it, the church ball fake shot, where he pump faked like 40 times before hitting it like towards, dependent old time.
Over the
Ohio State.
nation leading shot blocker or something.
Oh, yeah. As Stu called it the church ball pump fake. He's like, I was like, shoot the ball already, as the coach would always say. But can you tell me about that NCAA tournament game against Ohio State? Tony Brown put up a performance to never forget, and just that experience of winning the only NCAA tournament game in the last 23 years for the Aggies.
You know, that was a fun game. They just going in against them. All of our guys were young enough. They didn't know we were supposed to get beat, so they just went out and gave everything. But a lot of it comes down to Tony. You know, he was that good of a player and that smart that I don't know what the answer really is, because he had such a good pump fake as well. This little head fake, everybody be leaving their feet because like your shot, you got to respect it. So what do you do? But the tournament game, because then we lost UCLA.
Yeah,
like 2 days later. But everybody was so pumped up, so hyped for that game, and it was really fun. I don't remember a lot of in-game stories. Once you get in game, like for me, I'm doing so much stuff sometimes that I don't see a lot of it. But that shot, I do remember. I'm just like, okay, what's going on, Tony? And then he hit it, and everything just kind of goes crazy, and the crowd goes numb. And when you're on the bench, and you'll know this, and the crowd of the Spectrum gets loud, like your ears are just numb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from the vibration and everything. Wasn't quite that because it was at a bigger place, more people, but it was a really fun game. I mean, I'd like to see him go back and win some more. Hopefully they do that this year. But that's a huge memory for everybody. But even after the game, Tony's just back to being Tony.
It's interesting, and Stu told me this too. He said, as great as that shot was, Sean Daniels nearly ruined it. Because if you remember, Ohio State had a possession left, and they had an inbound from underneath their own hoop, and they threw a long pass past half court. Sean Daniels gambled, missed it, ended up in the Ohio State kid's hand. He had a great look for three and put it off the back of the rim. Otherwise, you guys would have had a heartbreaker of a loss. Like, dude's like, Sean nearly screwed that up for every one of us that day, and he's still a little bit angry about it.
Yeah. Even though we got the win, coach still a little up.
Hey, what was it like to take care of JC? Because I've heard the same thing about JC of, like, you could not keep him off the court. If he had a torn ACL, he was going to tell you, look, I'm fine. I'm going to go put up 30. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Like, what was it like trying to take care of this guy's ankles, which I was told it rolled it a lot?
Yeah. Well, most of it was just maintenance. And a lot of these, but with my rehab, I'm really a big believer in motion and movement and getting out. And I think playing through stuff, especially like ankle sprain, is actually probably good for you. Now, 30 years later, you're probably going to have arthritis, but you're probably going to have arthritis because you played Division I basketball regardless. And because these kids haven't just been playing for 4 years at college, they've been playing since they were 5, 6 years old. And they've always played at a higher level than most kids. You don't really get to D1 by not putting in that time and putting in that mileage. So JC was easy, but it's kind of like Gary and his broken thumb. It's because they just played through stuff. But I do remember that one. We after you sprained that ankle, getting up like the next morning at 4, like we iced it like 2 or 3 times throughout the night, and they just did the maintenance on it. But those guys were good about that. Like one thing, like right now when I work with football, the scouts, the NFL scouts come in, they ask, do these kids treat themselves like a professional? And with those guys, they all did. I mean, if they had something, they'd come in. If they didn't come in. So taking care of these guys, JC included, they were all just tough, hardworking kids, and they just kind of expected that they play through certain. I mean, Chad Evans had a fracture in his ankle. He'd come to practice in a boot, go down, practice. After practice, put the boot back on, and live to class.
Yeah, and Ty Wesley broke a nose. Brady Jardine, I know he had a foot injury that he fought through forever. Like it just was, and for me, I was acutely aware that my opportunities on the court were limited. I was going to have 35 games a year for 4 years, and every game was an opportunity to do something. Was an opportunity to play basketball that I couldn't get back if I missed that game. So I missed 0 games in college. And it, it helped lead to other things that I have. But when it came to kind of your philosophy, I adopted your philosophy of motion, as opposed to boot and crutches when ankle sprains happened. And when I got over to Spain and I'd have an ankle sprain, they want to put in a boot sometimes. And honestly, they started just calling it, it's the Carroll method. We're going to let him do the way it was. And we would sit next to other athletes, female athletes that sprain their ankle the same week or same day. And there were different philosophies on how to rehab it. And they did boot and crutches. And that girl missed 2 or 3 games, and I didn't miss any. Not saying that was anything on me. I believe the motion method. I thought the best rehab was walking to class every day, heel toe, was going to create that motion and help get the liquid moving and help get everything getting back to normal sooner. So in Spain, they started calling it the Carroll way.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that, and a lot of also, once you sprain your ankle the first time, the next one's hurt, but they do actually heal quicker as well because your ligaments are already stretched and possibly torn a little bit. So
how hard was it to train the athletes? I mean, like, because college basketball season, there's very little breaks. Yeah. And in the WAC or in the Big West, the brutality of the teams you played against on the road were just, I mean, it was physical every single night in and night out. What was the travel and training like to try and take care of these players while you're on a 4-day road trip with 2 games that are against physical teams?
It really, the travel, it's so much different now because now you play on a Tuesday. We got a game on Friday at 9:00. We were Thursday, Saturday, pretty much every week. You'd have an occasional one-off or a 3-day tournament here and there, but it got to be pretty routine. And you're gone for that 4 days, but then maybe the next week you got 2 home games. Now you're splitting them. You're gone Wednesday, you're back Saturday, you're gone Friday. It's way harder now, I think, but it really wasn't that bad because we could plan it out. And on the road now we have way more. We have modalities. We have compression units. We have Theragas. We just didn't have that. It wasn't out there. It wasn't available back then, which I think is a good thing because I do believe, there's the theory of are you a zoo lion or a wild lion? Zoo, everybody just feeds you, and out in the wild, you got to go hunt for your own food. And I think there's something to be said for that. When you learn how tough you are, because when you get to the pros, it's business, and JC will know better than I do. If you aren't tough and you aren't willing to go through a few things, somebody else will. Oh yeah, and they'll cut you. So. Even then, Desmond, he came back and talked to me late in the end of his career. He got a deal to play in a tournament for like $20,000-$30,000 for like a 2-week tournament or something.
Yeah,
and he said that kids would ask him like, how do I do this, what do I do better, and he said after a while he quit telling them because you're trying to take my job. Whereas in college, you want to kind of help the younger guys because we all need you as a team, but in the pros. I make you better, you might beat me out, and then I'm out of a job. But the injuries way back then it was a lot of ice, a lot of range of motion, and we were fortunate. We did have some injuries, but we didn't have a lot. Everybody was required to tape and brace for every game and every practice, which a lot of them didn't anyway. They just hoped they never sprained their ankle. But treatments on the road were easier then, I think, than they are now. But we also, nowadays they charter a lot of them. So if they got a Tuesday game, they'll leave Monday night and they'll come back Tuesday night. So you're really only gone a full day because you can treat them here Monday morning before you leave. And then you're gone, you got game day. I don't know, did we charter when you were here, one or two?
we had one, and I think it was because we had some snowstorm that we couldn't get out, and we had to make an adjustment. But that was an unbelievably fun trip. We left out of this airport.
Oh, it's a huge advantage.
Oh, it was so nice.
Yeah, Logan. I mean, it saves you 3 hours just going back and forth to Salt Lake with that. And now they do more charters, but I don't know how many basketball does right now. Football, obviously, we charter.
Yeah, basketball's about 5 or 6 for men's, and it's about, I think, 4 for women's basketball right now. So yeah, I mean, I can only imagine the difference it would make for you guys back then to be able to get out of Logan, get straight there, and go play a game.
Yeah, when I say one, that's 1 in 4 years. It wasn't 1 a year. It was one.
No kidding.
In the 4 years, and it was cool. It was fun. What since 1999 with those kids? What differences have you seen with kids that come in now? I mean, I'm with a lot of people here. Kids, coaches have had to change. I hear people say coaches have had to change. They can't be as tough, like Coach Morrill type style, Rick Najaris type style. It no longer works. Is that something you've seen that they got to be like? What do kids respond to nowadays? Is it the hard-nosed guy? Is it more a guy that they feel like's in their corner, kind of a cheerleader type coach?
I think a lot of it comes down to who they have in their corner outside of this. And I was talking to my assistant Brett, who does men's basketball right now, and great Osibor, who's doing really well right now. He's international from England, I believe. Okay, somewhere over there. And his Coach Sprinkle talks to his dad, and Greg will come in, and he'll be kind of dad. He's like, man, my dad talked to Coach Sprinkle. And his dad likes Coach Sprinkle because he'll get on him. So a lot of it is that. You call mom, and she's like, you're being mean to my baby, or you call him dad, and like, I should get some more playing time, versus, hey, just listen to your coach. And so I do see a little bit more of that. In the last 3 or 4 years, the transfer portal, I think coaches have to respect the student athletes more now than they did, because they can leave, and they do. They leave all the time. But I do think you can get on them. Like, I've been to Sprinkle's practices, and he gets on them. I mean, he pushes them, he drives them. But then it's always, hey, I'm not mad at you. We just need better effort. You're better than this. You can be a better player than this. So it's followed up with some positive reinforcement. But when a kid misses a jump shot, they know they messed up. Yeah. So to come to the sideline and have a coach just, berate you, is that really necessary? So I do think some kids have changed. I do think you can get on them. I think you have to recruit the type of kid that you can push a little bit. Right. But overall, I don't know that kids are softer. I just think they've learned what their rights are, and I don't know, Rick Majerus, Bobby Knight, all those old school type coaches. And Stu was bad, but Stu wasn't like those guys from the stories you hear. But I still think Stu's system would work today, but you'd have to have the right players in it, and you probably couldn't coach it as aggressively as he coaches it. So, because he pick shots, like if you're shooting out of the scheme, you're on the bench.
Oh yeah. His most famous play around is dribble.
Yeah.
And it's for the 2 guard.
Still gets run, by the way, by coaches that are set here
Across the country. And that play is designed to be a bounce pass to the post player. For me, it was to Nate Harris. And we had a game. This is my junior year. Like, I'm pretty good at basketball at this point with Coach Wool. And I come up. My guy falls down at the block, and I'm wide open in the corner. I shoot a 3, and I make it. Coach ripped me out of the game. I hear the horn. I'm out of the game, sitting next to him. He goes, "That's not your shot. You don't get to shoot that ball. That goes to Nate Harris."
Okay, it's crazy because I heard a story that I think you guys were on the road and it was late in the game, and I want to say it was New Mexico State. I can't remember who it was, but they went like on a 9-0 run, and coach went toward this bench, and he goes, "Forget the offense, just get J.C. Carroll open and get me a shot." Like, 'cause they just needed a bucket. Ended up converting, ended up scoring a bucket, stopped the run, slowed the game down, and got to pulling away and winning. But Stu was one of those guys that just fundamentally, you run the play that I call and you run it the way I want it to be ran.
Yeah. I remember my senior year, we lost at Utah, and I'm kind of sitting there going, "Oh, I was a little frustrated. I didn't quite get as much as I want." So I went to Coach V. I go, "Coach V, look, I think I need the ball more," I tell him. And I go, "It's not so much so I can shoot it, but I think things should just run through me more." He looks at me, he goes, "All right, JC, just so you know, this is kind of how plays go. I call one for you, then I call one for somebody else. Then we call one for you, and then we call one for somebody else." I kind of looked at him, I was like, "All right, I guess just know I'm ready. You can give it more, and I can help distribute and things like that." But
I can only imagine if you would have told Stu that.
I see, and I love Coach Morrill. And while I was a player, I think I had 2 conversations with him in his office in 4 years. Because then once I left and came back, I'd go up to his office and we'd sit there for 2 hours and talk about basketball and my kids and family. Coach was great, but he really kept a separation, and I think it helped him be able to kind of push us and motivate us without or whatever. I don't know what the reason was, but there's always a separation.
He was kind of that way with his assistants and with me as well. That we never really had, I never really had conversations outside of people getting hurt. And then once he was done, I ran into him actually in a parking lot down at Sports Academy. We talked for probably 45 minutes. Then there was just this huge stress relief, and kind of back to what you were just saying about the basketball. He had his certain rotations to like 16 minutes. You're coming out, you're going in. And I remember the night you hit 44, was it New Mexico State?
Yeah,
44. And you're supposed to come out. And he comes over to Coach Duryea, and he's just all frustrated. What do I do? Coach D says, "Just give him the ball." So they make adjustments when they see that stuff, but you can tell he's like, it's his time to sit down. I don't know. Should I sit him down? Should I not? So he was very, very organized. Practice plans exactly the same, like we talked about earlier. But as far as the personal relationships, that's kind of what you got to have nowadays. They want you to know who they are. They want you to know a little bit about their family and kind of their goals and all of that stuff.
All right, I don't want Jason to answer this question. I want to hear it from you. Like Ty Wesley, Spence Nielsen, Gary Wilson, J.C. Carroll, the talent on this court was insane. I want to hear about the trash talk on the court during practice. There had to be some of it. Someone had to be talking.
It mostly Ty, probably.
Yeah, mostly Ty.
Yeah, I don't practice. I didn't know that there was that much, because that happens on the court, and I don't really hear it just where I am, because a lot of it's under the basket. You go in for a layup, you get a shot, you say something. So I didn't hear a lot of trash talk. I know there was a lot during games, and again, Ty I remember when Ty got his nose smashed at New Mexico. And again, kind of throwback. He's bleeding, and he just stares at this guy at New Mexico State. They battled back and forth for not only the game, but every time they played. The guy caught him with an elbow and smashed his nose, blood dripping. And Ty's just standing there staring at the guy all the way off the court. Like, dude, you're making a mess. But there was that kind of on the court. We're gonna have that level of attitude. So that might be a better question for JC because he's out in the middle of all of that. And not, again, Ty was a trash talker. Gary a trash talker?
Yeah, Gary was just he was vocal. I was vocal in the sense, and Coach Moore would say this. He go, look, it's your job as players to lift everyone else up.
Yeah.
Because it's my job to tell them what they're doing wrong. Yeah. And that's kind of Coach Moore saw. He's like, I have to tell you what you're doing wrong. So you as players need to. So as far as trash talking, look, Coach Moore, he had us moving too much to even worry about and us worrying about what to do right, to even worry about the people that we were playing against. But it was that all my verbal to my teammates was, hey, that's a great pass, that's a great shot, good job. Hey, coach is on you. Hey, this is why. Let's talk through this. So that was it. It was really positive. But look, Ty Wesley was the worst on scout squad. You don't understand that scout squad. So scout squad guys, they go down while we're watching video and they learn the other team's offense. And so for that 15-minute session or 20-minute session, they get to morph into the other team's very best players. And you see a scout squad guy, and those guys want scholarships. Like you talk about, they're trying to fight for what us scholarship guys have. They want our playing time, and that's like their time to try and show out. So Ty Wesley would just get, as a redshirt freshman, just get ball in post. He'd work these dudes out, and then he would tell them about it. Like, oh, yeah, they can't guard me.
It's the Channing Frye story, because I think you guys were playing Arizona in the NCAA tournament, and he had to play Frye, and all Frye does is shoot. And so he was just taking shots left and right. He'd knock one down. He'd turn and say something to you guys.
Yeah, but that's all. But look, we get Jackson Meyer that would go and be their best player. This dude would run around. We did a walkthrough, shoot around on the road. No exaggeration. Jackson Meyer is so adamant at getting to the basket. He's running out of bounds on the baseline with the ball in his hands, and coach is like, "Yeah, Jackson, go get a bucket." And Jackson is like, "Yeah, see, that's what he'll do." Like, coach, he's not gonna run out of bounds. That's what that guy will do. Like, no, he's not gonna run out of bounds. He can't do that.
Well, and the one thing I think nowadays, scout team I think was hugely valued. There were a couple of times we probably had the scout team was probably the second best team in the conference.
Oh man,
with some of our teams.
Yeah,
but it was a great way for them to develop skills. But I don't know that a lot of kids would want to do that nowadays. So a lot of places bring in, I'm not sure how Sprinkle does it, but a lot of places bring in kind of scout team players. But that as a freshman to be on scout team, they took pride in that.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. Like Ty would, but coach never let Ty shoot. But on scout team, he gets to work on his jump shots out there a little bit occasionally. So I think the scout team stuff was huge for them to develop all around skills.
A story I was told, Spencer Nilsson broke a rim in practice, or broke a hoop in practice, or broke a rim or hoop or backboard or something in practice. True or false? And I hope you say false, because if it is, I'm going to ream him. Did he break, and then the coach had to call off practice because
broke a rim. I don't think it was a backboard.
It was a rim?
Yeah. Somebody broke a backboard in a game.
Ty did.
It was Ty.
Ty's backboard or a game?
He shared it, so...
And then they were putting up the second one, the replacement, and shattered that one too.
Yeah, but look, there's a spot on the rim. If you get on the front of the rim and you pull down, you just let it snap back. Like I've seen a couple times, they'll just fracture. Like the glass doesn't go down, they just fracture the glass on up. It looks cool, but I've seen it a couple times. But Ty did that.
I think Spencer did break a rim. I don't remember a backboard.
The coach had to call. I think Spencer was a freshman. He said coach called off practice, and Spencer was the hero that day, supposedly.
Yeah.
Oh, if you break a basket, you get to go home. Yeah, he's the hero that day.
Yeah, we only had two.
Yeah, the Spencer, you were done. You couldn't play enough.
You can't go over the Estes like you can.
What were the locker room? Actually, a couple of questions. First, what was the locker room like with Stu Morrill, like after a big win? I think I heard a story about the Boise State game. You guys won at Boise. It was a big win. And Stu opened up like a birthday card, or he opened up a card or something like that, and there's some music that came out of it. Do you remember this story? You remember hearing about this?
I remember being Boise State. The big thing was obviously the sweet dance that everybody kind of kept quiet in the locker room.
That's what it was.
And there was, the one at halftime was in Nevada where he ripped his pants. He ripped his pants on the side, right down the back, and he's in there. I can't remember if it was Nevada or Boise State. And his halftime talk was, "I don't care if I have to do this without pants on. We're gonna go in this game." So, the locker room celebrations after, I mean, it really winning kind of became expected.
It was expected. There were giant celebrations. Like we would celebrate like a road sweep, right? We go for 2 days, we win, and that's when we'd get the sweep dance. The coach had some fun things like that. Shoot around. We'd always do the little free throw contest and then half court shootout.
Yeah.
And all the coaches,
Everybody
trainers,
jump in that.
our grad assistants would jump in, and it was, there'd be like $10 on the line, and you make it 3-pointer. It's one tie all ties. So if one guy made it, someone would try and make it, and then no one got any money.
Did Maury ever make one?
Well,
I think he actually did. I think he's made one or two before.
I never saw him, but every single game he would go, JC, I make one every year. I'm like, Coach, I don't know if I've seen it yet. I've been here for 3.5 years. I don't know if I've seen one yet.
I think he did make one over one or two over the time.
Yeah,
But
it was so much fun. Like those things were so much fun. Playing against the scout squad was fun. Yeah, although I hated the scout squad at the same time because they'd play so hard, and they'd blow the whistle and they'd go shoot and make a basket, and like the whistle blew, man, and they just keep going, and the coaches are getting on us on our defense. Oh, you can't stop scout squad. Oh, Blake Tillotson, he's gonna make shots. He's not the guy you're gonna guard. And so if they just get you into this rage against the scout squad, then all of a sudden you hate those guys. In that moment, you're like, freaking Blake Tillotson, he can't guard me. So I'll say you're going harder and harder, and it just created this competition. But as Mike said, it ended as soon as we went to the locker room. I was like, hey man, what are we gonna do now? Like it just ended. But that's even my whole career. My last year playing professionally, I got in a fight with Rudy Fernandez in practice.
Or Spain, great.
Oh, he's still playing. He played in Europe or in the NBA for 6 years too. But anyway, make a long story short, he ended up elbowing me in the mouth, and I played this for 10 years. We were teammates for 10 years. And I got so mad that I went after him, and my team was holding back, and they kind of got separated across the court. And my coach was like, you guys done? I was like, nope. I went back at him again. It's like, if you ever do that again, I'm going to do this. And then I'm like sitting out.
You don't have to filter it. You can just tell us what you said.
I'd rather not.
It's a fairly friendly podcast.
Because it was embarrassing. I definitely said words I don't habitually say. And then I'm sitting on the sideline, and coach is like, all right, can we get back to practice? I go, nope. I get back up. Like, ugh. He goes, hey, why don't you two just leave? So I got kicked out of practice. And we were in the locker room for 2 minutes, and he goes, hey, we good? Like, why are we fighting? Like, we've done all this stuff together. Like, we need to get this to the other guys. It's like, yeah. I said, look, elbow me in the face again, I'll get mad. Otherwise, like, I'm done. And we were done. It took 2 minutes, we were done. And he's one of my favorite teammates I've ever played with. But that's how it was. And that's how good teams are. You can fight your brother, you can battle him, and then that's it. You just
don't let anybody else do it.
And you go on.
Former Skyview quarterback and Utah State football walk-on, Ted Stokes has established the #1 bankruptcy law firm in the state of Utah. Stokes Law's playbook is helping individuals and businesses overcome tough financial situations. If you're facing garnishment, repossession, foreclosure, or just overwhelming debt, give Stokes Law a call at 435-213-4771 or visit their website, stokesbankruptcy.com. Stokes Law is a debt relief agency and provides guidance under the United States Bankruptcy Code.
the locker room culture was huge because we had a lot of guys that would come in as freshmen, and having some of these guys that are a little bit older, they'd always kind of take them under their wing, and I think that was huge because we had some guys that could have easily gone the other direction and actually been a cancer, but kind of disruptive. But because we had such a good locker room culture, I think that was huge for. I mean, you look at people talk to me about, you know, the atmosphere and everything that we had back then. If we'll ever get it back, I think you can get it back, but it's going to be different. And it's going to be harder. And we just had such a good group of guys for so many years, and that culture was set from that group one that it just kept going over and over. And Stu got the same type of guys. And if you didn't fit in the culture, I mean, at one point there was a running joke of who's going home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Because there was a few times that somebody take off and they go home for Christmas and never come back. Somebody starts, and you talk to the room. Well, they were shipping stuff home for the last 2 weeks. Yeah, there's one. So
Spencer Nelson, one of his roommate on the road, showed up for our Christmas trip with like 5 sets of luggage. We get back and Spencer's like, "Where's so and so?" Well, he quit. He's not come back. He's like, "How? Maybe the luggage should tip me off. Something was going on."
Yeah. And it never really hurt because if you're not bought in, why are you then? You didn't really help.
Can I ask, I always want to be a fly on the wall because I heard the training room with the players was always one of the most fun parts of being a part of the team. Like, you can go to the training room and what happens in the training room stays in the training room. Until now on the Unequaled podcast, we're going to change that. Just what was the camaraderie like, conversations like in the training room while you're taping these guys up?
Well, back then the training room was attached right to the locker room. Now they've taken that part out, and it's kind of a fueling station type lounge type area. So it was just open. It was just whatever you wanted to talk about, and I remember, you know, they just had fun because we never really. I'm not a coach. I'm not part of I have nothing to do with your player time, nothing to do with your scholarship. So it's where they could come in, they could laugh, they could joke around. When they're not having a good day, then they could open up in there as well. So we had most of our kids were actually pretty positive. We didn't really have a lot of down days in the training room. So, and I found out years later, right next to the training room, there's the coach's room. So I was in the coach's restroom, and I went in to use the restroom, and everything was quiet. And I'm like, you can hear almost everything in the training room. I've always wondered, when does a coach ever went in there and listen?
Well, 100%.
Yeah.
B or D is over there just listening.
You couldn't, there was kind of 2 separate areas, and one they had a couch and a refrigerator, and you couldn't hear anything from there. But when you went in the back in the restroom, that was like, I try to tell the players, I'm not want to be quiet in here. Watch where you're saying. But I don't know if they ever went in there and listened. But yeah, V and Duria, you never know. They may have. But coach also, he asked me one time if players ever make fun of him. And I said, yes, they do, coach. and he said, well, keep that to yourself. So he knew as a coach, players are going to be players. He was a player once. They probably made fun of their coach. And like before practice, there were always people down there doing impersonations of Coach Morrill. Coach understood that distance of players. They need space. They need some time away. And that's one of the things nowadays. I'm not sure they get that as much, right? And like I said, most of our years we weren't allowed to be back in May, June, and July. We'd come back middle of August, end of August, somewhere in there. And now they're here all of June, all of July. So navigating that burnout is a lot harder nowadays. And I know, like over the summers, you'd put up 20,000. You'd make 20,000 jump shots, something like that. Mm-hmm. Would you be able to do that in this environment where you're actually working out all summer with coaches?
Yeah, it'd be difficult because you spend so much energy with the coaches in that time. It's hard to not only find time but have the energy to put in that kind of effort.
Yeah.
So it probably would be different. I was right at the beginning when that started happening a little bit. I remember doing summer workouts on the football field with the football guys.
Yeah.
Just to get the conditioning and stuff. But the training room, it was, things that were great were just dumb things. Like we had the big powder Powerade, and right when we mixed it up for the first time, it'd be extra like sugary and sweet, and that was the best time to get it. And we come in, be a little watered down. We're like, Mike, we got to put some more in there. Let's go.
The sugar high before practice and stuff.
Get the sugar high.
Yeah.
Steve Ducharme sitting on the computer watching Bear Grylls survival shows.
Spencer doubling up in the one big silverware.
We had the old school metal world. Like that's what we had, and it was like, and you could barely fit one person in there. Yeah, that Spencer would come and jump in with whoever was in there, and with the little thermometer to try and get the right temperature, or be way too cold or not cold enough, and just dumping ice. It was a little bit different world. And I'm not that old, but it was a little different world than what they have now.
Yeah, there's a lot more. Now they have the big hot tub. It's a cold tub, but the size of a normal hot tub, and just right there in the locker room now with them. So the nutrition stuff that they have available, it's grown. It's the army race that you're seeing across the country in college athletics, and trying to keep up with that is hard. So, but I do think, sometimes you get that expectation, you put that stuff above, am I going to be a better basketball player? How am I going to come out of this with a degree? Because that's one thing I think that I appreciate most about our basketball players is you look at the number of them that have gone on and are successful outside of basketball. Mm-hmm. Several of them did it through basketball by going to playing in Europe and New Zealand, Australia, wherever everybody played. But outside of that, they had plans, and they're all successful. So I think that's huge, and that's what college athletics was about. Is it still about that? It's hard to say if it's still about that now.
Yeah, and where we had so many 4-year guys. There's a line, especially Coach Morrill. There's a line of Coach Morrill led players that, from Tony Brown, 98, 99, even Curtis Bob, B-Rock, if Mike Amata, guys I never played with, when I see them, Cardell Butler, it's like, hey man, and there's instant like brotherhood with those guys all the way up to the last 2 years. Like me and Gary are yesterday at Mount Crest with Preston Medlin and stuff like that. There were some of Coach's later years. There's just this line that we can pick up after not seeing each other for a few years and have stuff to talk about, be interested in each other's lives, and honestly, we go our way to do anything for each other.
Yeah, and that's the huge thing. And in athletics in general, you talked about, you had Anna Weaver on. There are still a lot of kids that kind of have that same mold and that same mindset. I think as you get into football and basketball, where there's potential money and after revenue and, going pro and all that stuff, where all the other sports, they kind of know they're done when they're done. And but even in football and basketball, I think a higher percentage of them probably go play pro because there's just more leagues out there. But football, the odds of getting the NFL are pretty slim, and after that, you got like 2 or 3 options. So, putting the focus on that, I don't think that's the right direction. And as you see with all the changes, I'm wondering where football and men's basketball are going to be, and that are they going to split? As what's going to happen with all of that? But you'll never get the good old days back. But those years of basketball. And it's really because of the people. It's not because we had the best facilities. We had the indoor lob center, but I don't know if you guys use that once in a while for cutting.
We use it for conditioning. We go runs.
Yeah. We were walking over to the Hyper for practice, and now you got the Estes right next door and stuff. So I think a lot of that is kind of what made these guys, But I also think these guys that are successful, they were going to be successful without basketball, regardless. That's kind of who people are sometimes. So basketball was just an avenue to assist and facilitate that.
Well, your watch is telling you it's time to stand. This has been fun. Thank you so much, Mike, for being a part of this podcast. This might be one of the most favorite ones I've ever done.
Like get up jump shocks and stuff.
Hey, you're the trainer. You gotta start taking care of this guy, all right?
There's a lot more of that stuff out there now that people are using. And Bobby Wagner was in my office a couple years ago in Seattle Seahawks. They tried to use I don't know which brand it was, but like Polars or something like that, and he refused to do it. And I asked him why. He's like, I don't need a computer to tell me how I feel. So. But that's, I talk about the new technology. We can now look at how many miles did you run today. We need to shut you down tomorrow. And I don't know if it's good.
No, we use that at Madrid in practice. We'd have the monitor that check distance, heart rate, that kind of stuff. And every practice, our strength coach goes to me, hey, you set a new record today. And they're like, well, what good does that do? Like, Are we not trying to find a baseline that when I hit a certain mark, we know that's where my peak performance is done, then I need to be walked off of practice? I should be shut down. That's what my argument was like, hey, good job. You set another record for how far you ran. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, then shut me off and let me go home.
Anyway, and that's really what it's intended for.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it really ever gets used
No.
for that either. But also, if you got some machine telling you to shut down, do you really know what you can push through and get better?
Well, thank you again. Appreciate you. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining as well. It's awesome to like. I still have to pinch myself at times because I'm sitting next to JC Carroll doing a podcast, and it still gets me. Like I'm serious. I still get goosebumps, and having you sit here, you've seen some of the best, if not the best, in USU athletics. A bunch of Aggie Hall of Famers. That's pretty cool. So,
shout out to Wild Bill being in.
Let's go. Yeah.
I thought that was a really good idea.
Yeah,
I thought that was really good. I hope they continue to grow that because I just think it'll make your fans more crazy.
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
That was great. We're trying to get Wild Bill. We're going to try to get him on while he's up in town, but he had to take.
You say we. That one's on you. If I call him, he's gonna be like, who?
No.
JC called him like, yeah, when time, where.
That was last minute. I think they told him like the day before.
That was pretty cool.
He did.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. Well, thank you again. Thanks to all our sponsors for being on today's podcast. Guild Mortgage, Bowden Co., Real Estate, Stokes Law Firm, Bridgeland Adventure Park. Appreciate all of them. And again, thanks again, JC. Thanks so much. Big part of this. This has been the Unequaled Podcast. You can find it on all our podcast platforms. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button.